And we are live. Good morning, everybody. It is day 7 of the Woods Hole Film Festival, and I'm so excited to be joined by so many filmmakers this morning. In a second, we'll go around and have them all introduce themselves and say what film they're with. But just as a reminder, the Woods Hole Film Festival is currently going on now. Films are available to watch, and you can purchase tickets for individual films slash shorts programs through woodsholefilmfestival.org. So why don't we start with Tamarack? Just introduce yourself and tell us what you did with the film and where you're zooming in from.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Justin Bull. I'm the director and reluctant actor in Tamarack, a short film I made with my partner, Jared Green. And I'm coming from Concord, Massachusetts.
Hi, everybody. I'm also zooming in from Concord, and I worked with Justin on Tamarack, and I wrote the narrative for the film.
Awesome. All right, then let's head over to Zach with Grapefruit.
Hey, I'm Zach. Coming in from LA. I directed Grapefruit.
Awesome. Nice and early there, I'm sure.
Yep.
All right, let's head over to our GAMP crew.
Hi, I'm Sarah Totis. I wrote and created GAMP, and then we have Diana and Sapiwe here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diana O. I'm coming in from New York, New York. My first time trying Zoom horizontally, actually. Thanks. I'm the M in the GAMP, which stands for Mina. I don't know if we're revealing what GAMP means, but
Sure.
yeah. Gwen and Mina's Puppetopia. Bye.
I'm also a member of Gwen and Mina's Puppetopia. I was one of the actors. I play the mom, and I'm just a big fan also of your horizontal Zoom.
Well, we're excited to have have all three of you on this call. Let's head over to Maverick with My Dinner with Werner.
Everybody, my name is Maverick Moore. I'm here in Waco, Texas, and I was the director, editor, and co-writer for My Dinner with Werner.
Awesome. And then Caroline?
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm coming in from Yarmouth, Mass, and I directed, edited, wrote Clementine Skin.
Awesome. And finally, we got 4 people here from Divergent Warmth. Why don't we start with you, Daniel?
Okay, I just heard from Megan Lubetkin, who was the director and creative genius behind Divergent Warmth. She'll be here in a minute. She's having computer issues. My name is Dan Fernari. I'm a emeritus research scholar at Woods Hole Oceanographic and a marine geologist. And I have been working with Megan for several years now on some research-related topics, and was one of the scientists on board the cruise on Atlantis, where we dove with Alvin to the hydrothermal vents at the East Pacific Rise. This is a site about 200 miles south of Acapulco, Mexico. And it's a place that's been studied pretty intensely for the last 2 or 3 decades, where multiple volcanic eruptions have occurred. And that's the science behind it. And when Megan gets on, she can talk about what sort of her vision for the movie was.
All right, let's head over to Lauren. There you go.
I am Lauren Dykeman. I'm with Divergent Warmth, and I'm a graduate student at Woods Hole Oceanographic. I'm zooming in from Falmouth, Massachusetts. I was also on the cruise, and for my research, I work with animals that live at hydrothermal vents. And as Dan said, there are a number of large-scale volcanic eruptions, so my lab studies how these communities of animals recover after big disturbances.
Awesome. And let's head over to Charlie.
Hey, I'm Charlie Holmes. My pronouns are they, them. I'm calling in from College Station, Texas. I was, like Lauren, a graduate student on the cruise on which Divergent Warmth was filmed. I work on the relationship between the biological and the geological and trying to understand the unseen at the bottom of the ocean.
Awesome. And finally, Bruce.
Hi, guys. My name is Bruce Strickrod. I manage the album program at Woods Hole. I've been with it for 24 years. I'm one of the pilots. I'm the senior pilot right now. I've had the honor of diving with a number of the folks that are on this call. Lauren might actually mention her Christmas Day last year, which was pretty special. It's great. I'm the oddball in the group because I'm an engineer, not the science side. But we make the vehicle that escorts people down deep, and it's great to be a part of the call.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have all of you guys here. We had a new friend join us, Rachel, right?
Hi, yeah, I'm Rachel Author.
And what film are you with?
I'm with GAMP.
And you are the
director.
Of course. So we're excited to have you. All right. So let's go in now that everyone's kind of introduced themselves. Why don't we tell us? We'll go back around and have everybody kind of tell us about your films and what is your film about and how did it kind of come to be? Want to start? Let's start again with Tamarack.
Sure. So Tamarack is a short, depressing little film about a family that decides to venture to their cabin in upstate New York, and incrementally they all vanish one by one. So its origins are largely wanting to make a short film with limited resources. So taking my family captive, trapping them in a cabin, and shooting and performing as well to pull it off. And it's a little bit of a strange production story in that I envisioned the visuals of it, which is not what I typically do. Normally I'm a screenwriter by trade, and collected an assemblage of shot ideas, storyboarded it out, filmed it, and sort of just let it organically grow as I storyboarded it. And then cut it together and realized that it was lacking something. And that is where Jared came in a year after I shot it and didn't know what to do with it. So Jared, I don't know if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, sure. So I had actually seen the film in its earliest version and loved it because if I do say so, I think it's exquisitely shot. There are just beautiful compositions. I love the there's a sort of Shirley Jackson lottery aspect to it that you get even without any narrative. So I'd already seen it, and then Justin approached me, as he said, about a year later. I think the film had just sort of sat there, germinating a bit, and he decided that he wanted some voiceover narration to give it a kind of underlying story. And I just tried to work with the Shirley Jackson layer of it, but move away a bit from that to create something that's more atmospheric and dreamlike, and provided a story that could be, I guess, understood in very ambiguous ways about the anxieties of parenting, about the things we can't control, and maybe also about the ways in which the decisions of one generation, no matter how noble they might be, might pass on kind of traditions that are negative and potentially destructive for another generation, which suddenly feels very, very appropriate in this moment.
Yes, it is. When I was rewatching the films, and I saw Tamarack back in the spring, and then when I was rewatching it recently this week, I was like, yes, this is like even more relevant now than it was back then. So great job. Next, let's head over to Zach. Tell us a little bit about Grapefruit and how'd you come up with the idea for Grapefruit? I'm really curious.
Yeah, so Grapefruit is a musical comedy about a grapefruit who turns into a human and falls in love with a lawnmower. My brother and I wrote this film, and we wanted to do something sort of surreal and fun and take this kind of dream logic and making something that's not scary and that plays off of fairy tale tropes to be something more unique. In terms of the origin, I think it just came out of just a conversation about the color pink. And then we were like, we should do something that's pink. And then that led to the grapefruit, which then led to the Little Mermaid, and then here we are. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's a really cool, a really inventive film. We were really, really excited to have it this year. So
thanks, yeah, and yeah, we just leveraged the resources that we had, and like I work in music videos and do some animation stuff. So just taking the things that we knew that we could do and
we just had Megan join us in from the director of Divergent Warmth. The question we're talking about right now, Megan, is we're going through and people are telling us about their film and how it came about. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Divergent Warmth and how did this come to be?
Sure, thanks. Sorry, my technical issues. Yeah, so Divergent Warmth is it's a nonfiction, but it's narrative, and it's a look at the process of a day and the experimental nature of a day at sea on a research vessel that's operating the deep submergent vehicle Alvin. So this is a tiny submarine that people go in and explore and conduct scientific research on the seafloor. And so the process of making the film was really it was very much a lived experience, an opportunity to spend time out there, and a reflection on this process of exploring and how I was perceiving it.
Awesome. All right. Does anybody else from Divergent Warmth want to add a comment? No? Oh, Daniel?
Yeah, I just want to say a couple of things. So from my perspective, this film, I was so thrilled that Megan put this together. She worked on it at sea, and an early version of this was done actually when she was at sea and when we were transiting back to port after the cruise. And it's a pretty intense time. People are working 24 hours a day for the most part, and we were doing that for about 3 weeks. And during this time, clearly she was sort of interacting with the crew and the engineers that were making sure that Alvin was ready to dive every day, which is what we did. I mean, basically the idea here is, pretty much every day somebody's going to the bottom of the ocean, either in a remotely operated vehicle or, in Alvin's case, actually going to the bottom of the ocean, and that's pretty special. And so this is a view, as Megan said, of sort of what it's like on that daily basis of going to the office on the bottom of the ocean, which is what we do as scientists, that at least, our type of science. But it was told in a way that was very poetic and really gave you this sort of visceral sense of what it was like, both topside in terms of getting things ready and going down. And then once you got down there, the sort of fantastic kinds of sort of views that you had and the processes that you were witnessing, which is quite Jules Vernean. We were talking a little earlier about Bruce's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Cup, and really that experience is aptly described as Jules Vernean. It's taking you someplace where very few people go. In many cases, people won't ever go there again, and it is this sort of sense of wonder and discovery that we're trying to elicit, if you will, in the movie.
Yeah.
Can I add just a little context for people who don't know where we were? Middle of the Pacific Ocean, in a volcano, on the bottom of the ocean. And Dan and the folks that got the funding, Dan, you should tell them why we were there in December last year. But imagine, if you will, we're in a tiny submarine. We're going to the bottom of the ocean about 2,500 meters, and then we're going into an active volcano practice. So, Dan, why were we going there?
Well, I'm happy to talk about that maybe a little later. I don't want to sort of monopolize the conversation.
We don't want to take over. Sorry for so many people.
Yeah. But I will talk about that if there's time, for sure, because it is pretty cool.
Awesome. All right, then let's head over to our GAMP crew. We got 4 of you now. This is so exciting. Tell us about GAMP. It's such a cool idea. So how did it come about?
Well, I have actually been working on this project for over 8 years, which is nuts. And Diana has been on board that whole time. Diana plays Mina, I play Gwen. And I got this very bizarre. So GAMP is about, it's a dark comedy about 2 sisters who run a puppet show company. And I got this idea while working at this really bizarre puppet show job right out of college. And I was just like, the world needs to know how crazy this, universe is. So I had been writing and developing it, and we were about to shoot it 8 years ago. And then the person playing Mina back then kind of dropped out last minute. And I ran into Diane at a party that night, and I was like, "Do you want to play her?" And she was like, "Yeah." And so literally for the next 8 years, obviously on and off, I was Diana and I were, I would write drafts and we would do readings, and then I finally decided to film it, and we did a long director search and found Rachel, which was the best possible thing that could have happened. She's the director here. So yeah, that's how it came to be. And then having Sipiwe on board has also been incredible, as that important piece playing Kiki.
Yeah, how did you, Rachel and Sipiwe? Okay. What made you guys want to become part of this project?
Well, I'll just go really quickly. The Puppetopia universe, it's so fun, and I'm a mom, as you can probably see, and so I loved all of the bright colors and neon craziness, but it actually operates on a pretty deep level about families and friendship and searching and loss and all of these different other things happening underneath the puppet show. I just thought it was so fun, and it wasn't a real stretch for me to play an overwrought mom trying very hard to impress your friends with a kid's birthday party. As much as everyone wants to say that doesn't happen to them, it happens to all of us. So it was a fun universe to be a part of, and I just think it works on many different levels, and it was a nice break to leave the house and get to work.
Yeah, and I got the script and like an early draft of the script, and I love puppets and I love filming inanimate objects, and I was like such a fan of Diana's work. And then Sarah is just like she's such a boss that I was like, I gotta work with this lady, so that's how I jumped in.
Perfect. I really loved it. I think now that you've said that you've spent 8 years working it, I'm even more impressed, because I think it also shows of how well your characters are developed and how well you guys really embody the characters. So great job.
Thank you.
Let's head over to Maverick with My Dinner with Werner.
Yeah, so My Dinner with Werner is a dark comedy about Werner Herzog on a blind date while Klaus Kinski is trying to kill him, basically. And if you don't know, Werner Herzog and Klaus Kinski, those are real people. So Werner Herzog is an acclaimed German filmmaker. He's done narrative films, documentaries, and Klaus Kinski was a sort of a controversial actor that he worked with. So Werner Herzog's known for shooting in uncharted areas of the world, just being a really sort of dangerous madman filmmaker, and Klaus Kinski's known for being a really volatile, just explosive actor. And both of them worked together for over 15 years. They made 5 films together. And during that time, they both plotted to kill each other. They threatened to kill each other and just had a really turbulent, borderline murderous relationship. But in 1987, they stopped working together forever. And there's a lot of little reasons as to why I kind of hinted at already, but there wasn't a singular event. So My Dinner with Werner is the story of what really happened, the one night, the one event that separated them forever. So that's really where it came from. That's what it is. Hope that made sense. So that's it.
It's such a cool, I think when I was watching it, it was such a, when you're watching it, you never know what's going to happen next over the course of the whole film. So it was really, really fun ride to go on watching the film.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Caroline, let's hear about Clementine Skin.
So Clementine Skin is this weird little abstract movie that I made for my production 1 final at my college. And it's based off of a poem that my friend Emily wrote about addiction and like watching someone sort of succumb to addiction, and then I just took that and sort of went kind of nuts, and all of it was shot on my college. All of it was like using borrowed filmmaking equipment from my teacher. It was very haphazard, but it was fun. I had a good experience.
I remember when our programming team, when we saw your film, one of the first person who saw it messaged me and goes, I don't quite know what happens in it, but I know I like it.
Yeah.
And he was like, we need to have her, we need to have the film in the festival so we can have her tell us about it and tell us what. So I enjoyed it. It was really well done. And also, I mean, all these films are well done. I feel like I keep saying that over and over again, but I do genuinely mean it. So I guess our next kind of topic question I want to bring up is, so all your films are in different shorts programs but we decided to kind of bring your films together in for this chat under the topic of something different. And I think this is relevant because all your films, they're different story ideas, they're different forms of storytelling. And I think they all, while on the surface they all sound like they're very different films, and they are different, but they all do share that same idea of telling stories that you don't normally see and telling them in different ways. So how do you think your film is something different? Someone just raise your hand to start. Any takers? Who wants to go first? Oh, Daniel?
Okay, I'm never shy about this stuff. I mean, one of the things that struck me, I mean, there have been a number of, very reasonable attempts at sort of summarizing a research cruise and making a movie at the end, and some of them can be funny and some of them can be just informative, and all of that's great, right? But this was what Megan did was really through the use of the spoken word and the poetry that she sort of merged with the visuals. She made it into something, without getting too sort of wacky and mushy about it, just beautiful and poetic. And it's when we're out at sea and we're working, so hard, there are times when we just feel like, oh my God, this is unbelievable that we get paid to do research, to think of ideas and to go out and to actually try to figure out the puzzle of the earth and the ocean. And so to me, what I took from it was this was a way to sort of capture that beauty and that sense, that feeling that we get when we're out there of the mystery, the unknown, the difficulty, and the beauty. And so I think it's different, certainly, than anything that I had ever experienced in terms of a documentary, if you will, about a cruise and Alvin or going to the bottom of the ocean, whatever. It sort of took it to another level.
Any other takers?
I mean, I think as independent filmmakers that we're all like making movies because we have something to say and we want to put our mark on screen. Like the only way to get heard above the noise is to make something that nobody's seen before, to try to be as weird as your inner self can be, because there's no point in trying to make a romantic comedy or an action film or something for the budgets we're working with. So that's the whole ethos of independent filmmaking.
Yeah, Jared?
I'll take a shot at this and let Justin fill in, but I think something that's really unusual about Tamarack is that I kind of look at it as a very quiet horror movie. Even though it doesn't really feel that way, there are no jump scares, and its atmosphere is mostly about the relationship between beauty and dread, the things that you can hold on to and the things that you let go of. So I think that's something that's unusual, because to me, it's a film that connects private anxieties about what you can and cannot do to protect those that you love with some larger kind of questions about the things that make us anxious without being didactic about it. So I think that whatever it is that you are concerned about, whether it's large-scale environmental collapse or it's the pandemic now, because all of a sudden the film does feel like it addresses that, although of course it was not made to do so, or smaller, more intimate kinds of anxieties. I feel like that's what we tried to capture. So I think that's something maybe that is unusual about its approach.
I mean, this is why I have Jared write the words for the film, so I don't have to speak. But I would echo that. I would also say, as I mentioned before, I think something unusual about Tamarack is and it's a little more film techie geek thing, but it is the production process, which I think departs. I'm always trying to experiment whenever I make a film with the questioning the actual structure of the filmmaking process and seeing ways in which we make assumptions about that pre-production, production, post-production workflow. And I'm really fascinated in filmmakers like Mike Lee, for instance, or the Duplass brothers, the whole mumblecore movement, people who have really like taken a stab at saying that we don't have the resources, but we also don't have the limitations and expectations of a massive studio structure. So let's throw some things into a little bit of a chaos blender and see how we can actually maybe find some strengths in what are perceived as weaknesses of a pretty well-established production process. So I think that's an advantage of any independent filmmaker. We really can sort of weave our way through a process in a much more holistic, organic fashion.
Awesome. Maverick, I saw you raising your hand earlier.
Yeah, so with My Dinner with Werner, since it's based on real people, one thing that we thought would be interesting was if what they say in the film, or some of what they say in the film and do in the film, is based on things that they've actually said or done in real life. So as bizarre as some of those things that are coming out of their mouths in the film, it's based on some form of reality. So if you are familiar with like Werner Herzog, you probably are aware that he says some pretty wild things that are strange and equally awesome. So we just wanted to, again, do the research and just base those characters on those real people. And we thought that'd be one way to do it. And it's just also just a weird film. It mixes all kinds of stuff, everything from murder and love and friendship and WrestleMania and chickens and just everything. So
I want to go back to a little bit to Rachel and Justin, your comments, because I think you guys both touched upon the reasons why I love independent film is that, you know, there's in short films and independent films, people are really trying to, you know, break the mold and do something new and do something different. And it's really where I think some of the best films are that people aren't necessarily always seeing, but I think they're great because they're so different. So guys, both really summarized a lot of great thoughts, so thank you for that. Caroline, do you have anything you'd like to add about process of making Clementine Skin? How do you think it's different?
I think it's different because it's sort of hard to make sense of. There's like 3 different narrative storylines, all of which take sort of very different stylistic approaches. And it was sort of just like a process of blending that. There's no dialogue. It's all just visually based. I don't know. I guess I was just sort of inspired by a lot of like Andy Warhol films. I don't know. I just thought that they were cool. And I was like, oh, I want to try to recreate that. And then I created this monster. So.
Thank you. So since we have so many subjects and we have actors on this call, I kind of talked about this a little bit, but what do you like best about kind of the characters that you embodied or being involved in this project? What do you like? What did you kind of bring to the project, and what do you think you got out of it?
I got an awesome cheer on, so I'm going to jump in because I love an invitation. I just love an invitation because an invitation feels like permission to be yourself, and it's so rare for those moments, which is sad when you think about how rare it is that you really get the invitation to fully be yourself. And I know that, you know, Sarah has such a huge appetite for life, and she's one of my closest friends and one of just the greatest people in the world with the hugest joie de vivre that you'll ever experience. And if you ever want to travel with Sarah, I think that it will change your life. And I've gotten to experience that. And we actually went to France together as friends before filming. And I think that you feel that in our fine production. And I think it's really important to me too that, you know, the process really has to feel good to me. I just can't be a part of a process that feels bad anymore. I'm out of patience. And I think you feel that too in the film in terms of everybody involved. Rachel just, you know, she was all the things that you want in a parent, just so encouraging and fun and experimental and curious and low stress, and never ever made, and at least I never felt you know, dumped on in any way. Obviously, wow, it's like wow, what have I been through in my life? But anyway, yeah, those are it's an emotional thing, and I think every time we make a piece of art, it is a relationship, and it is a journey that, you know, imprints its thing on our path here before we die.
Oh, thank you. Lauren and Charlie, what was it like?
Back real quick on what Diana was saying, just about the something different. It's going to be quick, don't worry. But I think it's that true grit. I was going to speak to Rachel's process. I mean, there's some sets you can go to where it's low budget and everything's a mess because there's almost like a subconscious awareness that there's not enough to go around, and we're all stressed and just trying to pull it together by a shoestring. Or you can go in a situation where that's a shoestring where everybody's all in. And it's just like there's an unconscious agreement where like we are talented people who don't have a lot of resources, and we're going to use all of our creativity, and it makes all the difference. I think that approach. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Going back to Lauren and Charlie a little bit, what was it like? What was your experience with Divergent Warmth?
I guess I can start. Just sort of setting the stage. I think what makes this film interesting is the humans aren't, for the most part, the ones, you know, in front of the camera, but the actual capturing of all of the shots involved a massive amount of, you know, group collaboration. And I think something about that the film really captures is the interdisciplinary nature. I mean, even in the name Divergent Warmth, like, you know, the primary filmmakers were geologists studying these plate boundaries at the bottom of the ocean that are spreading apart. And there's chains of volcanoes and hot springs just all along this area. But they're also, you know, home to thriving communities of animals that were only discovered in the 70s. And these animals use the chemical energy from the vents, and the animals harbor bacteria that are actually like doing chemosynthetic reactions to turn these into sugar and energy that the animals thrive on. So it really is like we are capturing a place where the earth and biology interact, and Charlie can talk about the microbial side. But on the filmmaking side, it's really an interaction of all these different fields. So we had the pilots in Alvin that were, you know, positioning the sub to sort of get the shots. We had in some of the shots where it's filming the sub, we actually had a thing called the elevator, which it looks like a sort of a Mars lander. It's this just platform with legs. And Dan and Megan were involved in these really like nice cameras that were rated to really high pressures that could go down on this elevator that we just drop and place on the bottom of the seafloor. And the Alvin team would sort of get shots with that of the sub. Meanwhile, Megan's filming things shipside, and really good cinematographer. So I don't know, the experience was a bunch of different people coming together to do the science and to get the shots. So yeah, what does Charlie have to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna first apologize because I think my connection is very poor. So however this comes out, it comes out. But I think what it was really interesting to me about the production of the short and just the experience of viewing it is that so often we think about science and exploration through an individualized kind of colonial lens. And I think that what the perspectives that Megan was able to use in the creation of Divergent Warmth kind of allow for a decentering of the individual. You get kind of the sense that oceanographic research and in a sense expanding our relationship with what were formerly alien parts of the Earth is a collective process. It is a communal experience. I mean, I've down in the sub with Bruce. Bruce was my pilot on my dive this past cruise, and it's an intimate experience because it's it's a very small space. There are 3 people in a titanium sphere the size of a dive bar bathroom, and it's just kind of it brings you the awareness that in a sense humanity is alien to the Earth, and I think that's just kind of a special perspective that you rarely get in scientific documentary. So that I think was a great part of the experience.
Thank you, Charlie. Bruce?
Yeah, I think real quick, Megan put together a piece that showcases some of the amazing moments that you can have on the dive, right? The dive, research, Dan alluded to this, it's busy, it's demanding, it's constant. And mixed into the process of just going down there and being there to do the research are these finite moments of just amazing experiences. And it's hard to capture that and bring it back. So what you see is a mix of both what it's like just to be out there and then these minutes where you see things. And I know that every dive that I do, I have this great experience, and I'm very lucky to have that. So I like to see when a piece comes out that lets others have at least some chance to see that.
Thank you. And we have about 10 minutes left. So my last question for all of you is, what do you hope sticks with people after they see your films? What do you want audiences to think and feel and kind of be left with?
I mean, I can speak for Tamarack. Hopefully I'll get this right, Jared, but I guess the biggest, most useful thing I'd like people to walk away with is that our choices directly have an impact on the generations that follow us. So make some good choices, people.
Zach? Oh, Rachel?
I really like to get Sarah's answer to this, but for me, it's just like a feeling of joy. That's the takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, I always love the idea of putting so many incredibly specific ideas into something, and then someone's takeaway can just be something totally unexpected. So that's something that's really exciting to me about creating something, is getting as specific as you can and knowing exactly what the choices mean to you, and then someone could watch it and they just go on a completely different journey. But I think one thing that's really important is, our Gwen and Mina, our protagonists, they're not, they're real people, and they're flawed, and they can be dirty and hurt each other. And I just hope that people feel kind of a sense of, I don't know, just watching, when you watch a lot of characters that are all, especially like most of the female characters that I saw growing up when I watched film, they're all polished and pretty and etc. And I think it's exciting to watch characters where you see a more multifaceted, realistic representation. And so I would like people to go away from the film with a more of a sense of acceptance of themselves and all of their messiness and complexity.
Anyone else from GAMP? Good? All right, let's head over. Zach, grapefruit. What do you want people to leave grapefruit feeling or thinking?
Sure. I think grapefruit is about discovery. It's about taking some assumptions that you had about the world and about yourself and realizing that they might actually be something completely different. Assuming that the objects around you are not sentient. That's a pretty basic assumption we have about our world. But maybe that's not true. And maybe, the mythologies that we tell about ourselves are the same things that are happening on a completely different scale to you. Adjusting your perspective towards these things that, if you were discovering being a human for the first time, what would you latch onto? What would be the things that jump out to you. Maybe it's the smell of something specific or how to open a door. I think that trying to get into the mindset of something that's not human and trying to experience our world in an entirely sensory way, that's what making Breakthrough is about, what the character is going through as well. So I hope that when people watch the film, they have a similar experience of maybe defamiliarization with the world around them so that they can see something that they've made assumptions about in a new way.
Awesome, thank you. Maverick, Caroline?
I guess I'd want people to sort of come out of watching Clementine Skin with like a sense of compassion. Because like, even if it is sort of jarring to watch and there's a lot of weird imagery, I'd like to think that there's like an emotional thread that sort of pushes the narrative forward. So even if, you don't really know what's going on, you know that the main character is hurting. And I would like to think that, you come out of that with a not better understanding of like how addiction works, but like a more sort of nuanced feeling of like care and compassion.
Thank you. Maverick?
Yeah, I mean, our goal really was just to do our best to make it a good time at the movies. That was our goal. Is whether you know Werner Herzog and Klaus Kinski about them or not, it's our goal is to make it fun for everyone, and hopefully we did. But I mean, I guess if anything other than that, I hope that after people watch it, they're more interested to learn more about Werner Herzog and Klaus Kinski and watch the films they made together, watch the documentaries about them, Burden of Dreams or My Best Fiend, which are really, really fascinating. I guess that's it. We just hope it was fun. That's it.
It is. It's a fun film, fun watch.
Thank you.
All right. And finally, let's end with our Divergent Warmth crew. You guys got a few minutes.
I think the main thing I was hoping people would feel is feeling part of something. So I think that there's the different folks who will see this film. There will be a number of oceanographic community people who perhaps relate to it more closely in the experience. But I think feeling part of something in a collective way and recognizing that potential and having this sort of deep sea curiosity form from that.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Oh, yep.
I was just going to say that I do think that the movie is about discovery, awareness, and sort of giving the viewers the sense of being able to get into an environment that they don't normally experience, and also really on a fundamental level to engage with the public on this kind of stuff, because fundamentally we are paid by the public through public monies from the National Science Foundation and other federal agencies to do basic research, and this is one small way that we can give back to the public, that it is really important to discover how the earth and the ocean work, and I think now more than ever I think it's pretty clear to many people that it is a very complex and very important system for us to understand and to hopefully make better and not screw up for future generations, because that's the path that we're on right now. So
Thank you. Okay, we've hit 9:45, so that is time. But thank you so much to everybody for watching. Oh, Maverick. Oh,
I was waving bye. My bad.
Oh, I just saw the hand shoot up. I was like, oh my gosh, did I forget?
No.
Thank you to all our panelists for coming and joining us today. I know some of them, it's really early where you are. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation, and I hope everybody watching enjoyed hearing more about the films, and that you can still watch all these films on Woods Hole on our platform, watch.woodsholefilmfestival.org. Tickets are available through Go Elevate. All of this information is on the woodsholefilmfestival.org website. And films will now be available through August 3rd. This is recently announced. We've extended the festival 2 days. So gotta get no excuse to watch. All right. Have a great rest of your day.